Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Rant World with me, Notorious BLT. Oh boy, do I not have anything to talk about? No, I have plenty of things that I actually kind of want to just touch on today. Mostly just anecdotes, some random stuff. Man, I just keep moving the mic around. What? It's like I'm obsessively moving it. Anyway, one thing I want to talk about. I was very, very impressed the other day and very happy. I don't normally, this is going to sound horrible, but I don't normally have the greatest opinion of children. I don't know if it's just like I've lived in the United States for too long, but I'm so used to seeing kids that are just being jerks to their parents and other people that, like other adults, that I just have very little faith. But I was going to my doctor's office. Hello, kitty cat. I was going to my doctor's office the other day. Oh, you running away now? All right. And I was going to pick up a prescription, and this woman and her son were in front of me, or at least I'm assuming it was her. That it was, a mother-son kind of thing going on. And the kid held the door for me twice, and I was like, "Dang!" So I said thank you, and he said, "You're very welcome." And I was like, "Holy crap!" And that was about the extent of my verbal interactions with this child. Oh, I've just realized that I need to change a little something here with this video. There we go. That's better. Sorry. Because in general, I'm kind of an introverted person. This is like the only platform where I'm even slightly extroverted. So for me, I wanted to like go to this woman and say thank you for like teaching your child how to be a polite, functioning human being in society. But I couldn't because my anxiety for talking to people in the real world overcame that entirely, which is may sound very strange from somebody who you hear talk about random garbage all day, or maybe not all day, for like roughly, what is it, like a half an hour to an hour a day, once a day each week, except for Fridays where it's twice a day, mostly, normally. But it was such a nice interaction. Such a very, very nice interaction. There was another instance of this recently, and I can't remember what the heck it was. But you know what? That's all right. That doesn't really matter. Because the other thing that I wanted to touch on is, like, at what point does it become more the doing of the child than the parent? Like, at what point do you stop thanking the parents for raising a child that is not a jerk? And at what point do you not thank the parents and just start thanking the child? Like, when do children start realizing that being that not being a jerk is great? I don't know. It's such a generalized statement. It's so bad. But I'm not gonna take it away, because I did mean what I said. Horrible as it might sound, I did mostly mean what I said. But it's just... one other thing about this video. You're not hearing any audio from the game because, once again, I tried to just record audio, like a commentary while playing the game about things that are not the game, and it just didn't go very well. So there's that. Yeah, so, I mean, I think it also kind of depends on the child. Like, using myself as an example, I was a pretty big jerk until, like, my early mid-20s. And that was not the fault of my parents, I don't think. Because my parents tried to teach me to do the right thing and to not be a butthole. But for whatever reason, I thought I was hot shit and didn't listen. So, maybe I took longer than some kids do, and maybe I didn't take longer than some kids. I have absolutely no idea. But that's not really the point. That's not really the point. The point is that it's all down to, well, I guess that is kind of the point, isn't it? It is kind of down to the individual. Like, for example, some people just don't ever grow up. I experienced an angry motorist today on my drive home. Maybe this person was probably like the definition of you played yourself. I say that because this individual was driving very recklessly. And I had my first encounter with this person. I was in the rightmost lane on the highway because there was an exit that I needed. And there was like a car length in front of myself and the car in front of me. Because we weren't, we weren't going especially fast. We're going like 40. It's still not enough space. Do not leave just that much space, okay? When you're going like 40. But this dude just kind of casually strolling along, right, like, lining himself up with that space in between me and the car in front of me. And then suddenly, without even turning his blinker on, just like zooms over into that spot. Almost causing an accident, by the way. Almost causing an accident. And this stuff used to make me so mad. And now I just get disappointed. Which I know that's like such a dad thing to say, even though I'm not a dad, but it's so bad. So I'm like, all right, well, this guy is clearly kind of a dick. But I am going to let that go and continue on my way. So I get off on the exit, and after I take this exit, I have to get, there's two lanes. There's right lane and left lane. The right lane goes away from my home almost immediately. The left lane goes to my home almost immediately. So I get over to the left lane. This guy's sitting there in the right lane. And, oh, this was the other thing. When that guy cut me off on the highway, there was no reason for it, because there was tons of space behind me. Tons of space! There was not a car for, like, easily 3/4 of a mile. And yet this guy insisted that he must be in that space. It was his space, his God-given right to take that space. So, we both take the exit. I get in the left lane. I'm almost kind of alongside this guy, and I'm like, whatever, I'm not even going to acknowledge his presence. Except that I was forced to acknowledge his presence when he started to change lanes into my car, completely ignoring the fact that I was there. So, I try to honk my horn to let him know, dude, I'm here. Please don't crash into my car. And when I say I honked the horn, I don't mean like I tooted the horn. I mean like I laid on the horn, like, please don't kill me. I would very much like to live. Please do not crash into my car. His response was to gun the engine past my car, nearly striking the car in front of me, and then giving me the finger. If you don't know what I mean by giving me the finger, in, I think, many Western cultures, giving somebody the finger is essentially saying, fuck you. Which used to have a lot more meaning. Like, a lot more. And we'll touch on that in just a second, but it struck me as this person was basically saying, I'm in the wrong, but screw you, pal, for not being in the wrong with me. It's like, this is what I'm talking about, is some people never grow up. Like, some people cannot accept responsibility for their own stupidity. Like, either this guy was so uncomfortable with himself that he has to inconvenience and potentially harm others to show how great he is to everyone else, even though everybody else sees through it and can tell this guy's just driving like a butthole. Or they've never grown up and can't understand that there are other people in the world and that they're not the only ones. That's the only conclusion I can come to. I mean, I guess you could say he was in a rush, but, like, he didn't get anywhere any faster. So I don't know, but maybe my perspective on this is completely skewed, and this guy was just, like, super in a rush, but then why give me the finger when he was in the wrong and I was attempting to like, perhaps what was going on was he was trying to, maybe he thought that I was saying, hey, you're a jerk, and he was like, no, I'm not a jerk, I'm in the right, because of reason. I can't even, going down this line of thought of trying to justify somebody else's actions, sometimes I just go down this rabbit hole, and eventually I just have to stop because it just becomes ridiculous. Eventually I get to the point where it's like, well, what if he's a doctor and he's, like, trying to get to somewhere so he can deliver a child? Or, like, you know, what if a family member of his is in distress? But still, it doesn't make what he did okay. Like, it didn't actually result in anybody getting anywhere faster. You only caused potential harm. God, that's a weird way of saying it. You only potentially caused harm, or like you caused a situation which could have very easily caused many people to be harmed because of your selfishness. That's the only thing I can think of, is that it was selfishness. So this whole thing with the middle finger being, for a second I thought that dropwig ate me. Oh, yes, of course, with the horn. Yeah, give him the finger too, because that helps. So with this whole thing with the finger, it is my understanding that some time ago, when I say some time ago, I mean long, long ago, giving somebody the finger used to really mean something. Now it's just like, okay, you've expressed your displeasure. Good job. You've expressed your displeasure in possibly one of the more vulgar manners that you could have, given the situation. Like, obviously, you can't really do some elaborate gesture when you're driving a car because you're just going to cause harm. But then again, maybe that person that gave me the finger would have done exactly that because they're, I don't know, bad at living their lives. This is just a cluster fluff of epic proportions over here. Vulture, spiders, lizards, just all kinds of mayhem ensuing. It's madness in this place. And that wolf spider is going berserk. Which, by the way, I hate the wolf spiders, man. They are just the worst. The way they move, just... Ugh. I hate it. I hate it, man. I so hate it. So anyhow, it seems to me that it used to have this significant impact, this gesture of the middle finger. Now, it just, like, when I see somebody do it, I'm like, okay, whatever. And maybe I'm not... I can't think I'm the only one that thinks that, which... That's another thing, man. Whenever I see people like, am I the only one that... No, you're not, dude. Or lady, you are not. There's like 7 billion people on this planet. You are not the only one. Or wait, did we hit 8 yet? I think we were at 6 and now we're at 7, or were we at 7 and now we're at 8? You know what? Again, I have the power of Google. Why would I not use it? Google. No, not Gmail. Get out of here. Google. Google. Yes, thank you. Okay. Wait, why did I... Oh my god. Google's my homepage. What the hell am I doing? Alright, I've turned into an old person. World population. 7.6 billion. That's what we're at right now. Damn. So yeah, there's 7.6 billion people on the planet right now. Very, very unlikely you are the only person that does or feels a certain way. But I digress. What I really wanted to talk about today was an experience that I had last night. For Mother's Day, I took my mom to a paint night. And I wasn't exactly sure what to expect, but I figured, some mother-son time would be nice for Mother's Day. So I bought her some wine. I wasn't drinking because I was driving, trying to be responsible. So we went to dinner at this German place, which is actually where the event was held. And we've been to this place before. They make some damn good food, dude. So I had a pretzel-crusted chicken breast that was pounded very flat and was delicious. And she had a pretzel-crusted piece of haddock, which is a type of fish. Not that, like, they don't... Just making it sound like everything they serve there is pretzel-crusted. That's not the case. Those are actually the only 2 things they have there that are crusted in pretzel stuff. But we just both decided, hey, let's have some pretzel stuff. Why not, right? It's delicious. So we had that, and then we went up to this big, like, banquet room where they had all these canvases set up. And I was expecting that it would kind of be like, have drinks, paint the thing on your own. Oh, I'm trying to look stuff up here. Don't worry about it. Every once in a while I pause because I'm looking at the map. I was expecting, like, you paint by yourself and you just, like, try to paint this thing and that's about it. I was very wrong, and I was very glad to be so very wrong. So what it is this woman and her assistant coach the entire room of people. I think there were probably about 20 people. Maybe 25, somewhere around there. That were all there to drink, have a good time, and paint, which was awesome. And so these two people will instruct everybody else as to how to paint this image, and it is something that the artist, who was one of the instructors, has painted previously. But she basically paints it again to show you, and she does it in stages. So what we did was like a wooden fence background or like a wooden door background with a mason jar with flowers coming out of it. And so it was like, all right, step one, make some gray paint with white and black, and then just murder that canvas with gray, like a stone gray color. And then you wait for that to dry. And it doesn't usually take that long. And then you take your white paint and you do this technique called dry brushing. And this was one of the other things. I was terrified of this because I can paint miniatures. So like if you look at war games, tabletop war games like War Machine, Hordes, or Warhammer 40k or Warhammer Fantasy, although I don't think Warhammer Fantasy like exists as a thing anymore. I think they changed it to something else, but whatever. You can still play the old editions if you can get your hands on the books. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Those miniatures come unassembled and unpainted, and so you have to prime them, and then you put paint on them to make them look nice. So I'm decent, I think, at painting miniatures. I actually used to do it as my job when I worked for Games Workshop, which is the company that makes Warhammer and Warhammer Fantasy, or Warhammer 40k and Warhammer Fantasy. You know, because you run the retail store, and they want you to be able to display the miniatures that you're selling and have them look good. God, I hate drop wigs. So I'm like, but I'm terrible at painting on canvas. For whatever reason, my brain has trouble wrapping itself around the idea of painting an image that is going to look three-dimensional on a two-dimensional space. My brain just like explodes when that happens. Or when I try to not conceptualize, but when I try to actually think about how I would pull that off, you know. And the thing is, like, I know some of the principles of the painting, but for some reason I just have the most horrible trouble trying to apply that to a canvas or two-dimensional thing, which is also why I'm terrible at drawing. Because I think part of it is perspective. But anyway, so our next step after destroying the thing with gray was to dry brush, which is this thing where you get the paint on the brush and then you like not wipe most of it off, but you get a bunch of it off so that the brush is kind of dry, and then you very lightly drag that brush over portions of the canvas, and it gives when you do it on miniatures, it gives like a highlighted effect. So like if you put like a dark green on something and then you take a slightly lighter green and then you dry brush over that area, it only catches the raised areas of the miniature. So like if you're doing something like somebody has like a big muscled arm, you know, you'll only catch the top parts of the arm, and so it gives it like it gives it depth. It gives it, you know, the illusion. Well, I guess on a 3D miniature it's not the illusion, but if you just paint everything a solid color, then you don't really get the depth. You know what I'm saying? So when she said dry brush, I was like, holy crap, a concept I am aware of when it comes to painting. This is amazing. And so I felt a lot better after that point. My mom, on the other hand, I think she felt relatively comfortable right off the bat because she is, I don't want to say she's like an artist, but she is very good at drawing and very good at painting. Like, really, really good. And I clearly did not get any of that in the genetics. My sister, though, she did. Yeah, my sister got it big time. That's why she's an art teacher. Like, a super knows what the hell she's talking about art teacher. Like, big time art teacher. But, well, that makes it sound like she's like a celebrity or something. And she's not a celebrity. I'm sure that to the kids she teaches she is, but because she's also a really cool person. But anyway, so you do the dry brushy thing to like give the fence like a whitewash look, okay, and then you draw in the planks, basically, or the separation of the planks of wood. And the way you do it is you just take black paint and you make like lines that don't even have to be even, because, you know, wood planks, especially on old fences and doors and stuff, are rarely ever even. And you make, I think we did 5 planks, because another concept that she pointed out that I am also aware of is that when you're drawing or painting or whatever, even numbers look weird to people. And I know there's a name for the concept. At least I'm pretty sure there's a name for the concept of that, but I just don't remember what it is. Uh, but suffice to say, even numbers look weird to people, which is a little strange in this particular instance, because what we were doing is you're putting an even number of lines to make an odd number of planks, but you're going for the odd number of planks because that's what the eye is going to focus on. They're not going to focus on the lines. The lines are just there to give you the separation of the images, or of the objects you were trying to create. And then we did another plank that went horizontally across those vertical planks by also drawing a line. And then we did 2 nails by just putting 2 blobs of black paint. So after that, we did what was it we did? We did the flower petals. And the petals were just like white petals. That was it. And you basically just make you start from one point and you make little teardrop shapes for each petal. And every time you make the petal, you come so you're starting off, say you're starting off horizontally, going from the left of the starting point. You make a teardrop shape that way. Then you turn a little bit counterclockwise, and then you make another teardrop shape that goes right back to your starting point. And then you keep doing that until you get around and make what looks like a daisy, I think, right? I think we're making daisies. And then when you're done with all that, then that stuff dries. You take a bunch of orange paint, which we made with red and yellow, and you take that and then you put a blob of it right above the petals. And then you take some yellow as a highlight and you put that on the top and kind of around the sides. Which was another thing that I was relatively familiar with from painting miniatures, is the concept of highlighting. My understanding is that, and I want to make it clear here as well, because there's a lot of different ways you can paint stuff. You can paint via airbrush, which is fine, but that's not how I used to do things, because the Games Workshop wanted us to do it with paintbrushes, because that's what they sell. They don't sell, or at least at the time they didn't sell airbrush stuff. And so they wanted us to do it with, the products that you could actually get in the store, which I'm totally fine with. And that's actually my preferred method of painting, because I don't really understand airbrushing at all. I'm sure that it's easy to some, hard to others, but I can't really comment one way or the other on it. So I was doing everything with a brush. And so when you're painting with a brush, there are 3 main highlighting techniques that I guess 4, that can all be kind of interchanged depending on what you're doing. You got dry brushing, which is considered one of the more basic methods of doing it, of making highlights that appear on the miniature. Then you've got inking, which is another, I'd say it's almost like the reverse of dry brushing. You put a lighter base coat on your miniature. So say you're painting an orc. Orcs have green skin. I'm using orcs because I freaking love orcs, and they're my favorite miniatures to paint, because they're so much fun to paint. I don't know why, but I love painting orcs. Well, I know part of the reason why. I love orcs. Okay, so there it is. But they're fun to paint nonetheless. Dang it, I'm not the only one that has this opinion. People that don't even like orcs find them fun to paint. Anyway, so you put if you're going to do dry brushing, you put a darker green on the skin first, and then you dry brush with a lighter green. When you ink, you start with a lighter green on the base coat and use a darker green as the ink. And there's a couple ways you can ink, but I think that one way is considered inking, the other is considered, what's it called? I can't recall now. I can't recall what it's called, but one is you take this type of, I guess it's not really a paint, it's an ink, and you water it down and you kind of slather it all over the miniature, and it sinks into the crevices. Okay, and so you get the lighter color of the green skin, and then the darker color of the ink in the crevices, so it actually gives the illusion of shadow and light. And then the other method is basically you're just watering down a lot a particular, or a darker green. I prefer inking. It's a little more even. When you water down paint too much, sometimes it gets a little blotchy and it just doesn't look right. And then the method that I generally used was block highlighting, which is much more labor intensive because you are essentially painting each highlight onto the mini. And then there's the much more labor intensive version of block highlighting, which is called wet blending, where you are, instead of waiting for the paint to dry on the miniature, you are actually painting on a lighter color than the base coat to while the base coat or the darker color is still wet, and then like pulling that paint into the darker that lighter paint into the darker parts very slowly to create this blended illusion of light. I only pulled it off a couple times on a couple of different miniatures, and it looked really good, but most of the times that I tried it, I screwed it up real bad. So one thing I want to point out here that's going on, I'm not starving, but I'm at the end of the hunter's life cycle. You have a limited number of cycles, if you don't know. Which is why the screen's going all weird, and why things are not counting for as much food as they should, or as we're used to them counting for. One thing that I ran into that I don't think I was actually aware that this happens, is that, oh, and that's also why we're unable to jump as far, and like we just randomly start dropping stuff, and like why things get slow from time to time. But apparently, if you get above your food threshold for a day, that's all fixed for that day, at the very least. I didn't know that. So I guess there are ways to keep going. I don't know if after I rest I'm going to die or what, but I guess we'll see. So, anywho, after you draw the tops of the flowers, you then put the mason jar, which you just take some blue paint and mix it with a little bit of white, and you make the threading part of the top of the mason jar, and then you make the sides, like you just draw it, and then you kind of do a little bit of a dry brush in the center for the rest of the glass of the jar. And then you add more white and dry brush that on as well to give, more of an illusion of like the light hitting certain areas. Because, when light hits a jar, sometimes like you get that, what appears to be white, it's not actually white, it's just how your eye perceives it. Kind of glinting off the jar. It's kind of, I guess the way I can describe it is when you look at water, sometimes you see like white parts that show up. The water's not actually white. It's the light from the sun glinting off of it or reflecting off of the water, and it causes this kind of illusion. Well, I guess it's all technically illusion. I mean, existence is just so strange because it's like what you're seeing is real, but only in the way that your mind perceives it. Human brains are just freaking weird, dude. Human brains are super weird. But that's another thing that I want to kind of get into later. It's a weird, like, life and philosophical just craziness thing. It's nuts. Listening to people that know stuff about like how the brain perceives things is absolutely fascinating, and it's certainly something I want to talk about in the future. But anyway, so then to finish it off, you draw the stems of the. I say draw. You paint the stems of the leaves or of the flowers down into the jar, and you basically have your completed image. Now, my mom signed hers with her painting with her initials, and then was thinking like, hey, where am I going to put the date? And so I said, why don't you just put it on the jar, like if the jar has a date on it? She was like, holy crap, that's a great idea. And so that's what she did. And then I signed mine by putting an orc face because that's my signature. And a couple people pointed and they were like, what the heck is that? Now it's just like, yep, it's my signature, deal with it. I mean, I wasn't rude about it, but and I didn't actually say that, but it was just like, yeah, it's my signature, just whatever. And so one of the things that I really, really liked about this event was that the woman that was like directing us played some fantastic music. At least I think it's fantastic music because I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and a lot of the music she played was from the 80s and 90s that I really love. Like, she played some TLC, she played some Bon Jovi. Let's see, there was, oh my god, I'm forgetting the names of all the bands. I cannot believe it. Oh, she did play some Hanson, which I was like, all right, whatever. But one of the other things was, I was the only guy there. And it really showed because that it's not normal, well, maybe not normal, but not a regular thing for guys to show up to these things. Because she kept saying, all right, now ladies. And, that's fine, because the majority of the people that were there were ladies. And I certainly don't expect her to change what she's going to say because, like, one dude is there. That's ridiculous. I don't expect her to be like, fellas or guys or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, she's just using whatever. Oh, God, that spider. That thing was hanging on for dear life. I'm glad I stabbed the Christ out of it. What a jerk. What a jerk. My God. This game has gone crazy. Yeah, I don't expect her to change what she's going to say, but it was just like, wait, did I not stab that spider? I thought I killed it. Man, I thought I killed you so hard. Did I not? You tell me I killed that spider. It deserves it. Okay, there we go. Stab that jerk right in his stupid butt or face or wherever it is that spear landed. I'm happy about it. Just kill that spider. That's all I care about. So it was pretty clear. I mean, not like I was getting like weird looks or anything, but in fact, quite the opposite. Like when I walked in, the lady I walked in with my mom, and the woman that was running the place kind of like looked at me like, what the heck is this person doing here? And my mom was like, oh yeah, we're here to check in. My son very nicely got me, a painting thing with him, and it was very cute. And she was like, oh, that's so great. And it turns out we weren't the only ones there for a Mother's Day thing. There were 2 daughters that had brought their mom for this painting thingy as well, which was really, really just like, it was really cool. It was really cool. I very much enjoyed my time. And if any of you ever have a paint night kind of thing in your area, I would encourage you to go check it out because it was a lot of fun and it was really cool. But yeah, that's going to be it for this episode, folks. I hope you all did enjoy it. And if you did, you know what to do. That is me from Notorious BLT. Hope you have a fantastic day. And I will catch you all next time. Bye-bye, folks.